If you play on Homecoming and you do any amount of fire farming, you might have run into me. This is Disco Voltage. And I've had a lot of people, okay, not a lot, a few, ask exactly what my build is and how I do what I do. So I'm going to explain it. I'm going to show you the basics. And one thing that I'm going to do that I don't see a lot of tutorials and builds do. They show you the build and they show you what they've done and they're very proud of it, as I am, but they don't show you how to use it. And I'm going to show you how I use it. And I've spent many hours. I've been playing since the very beginning. That's not figuring out exact rotations and why I do what I do. So let's start with the build. So the first thing you'll notice in the build is that the resistance is 75%. That's the cap for blasters. They can't have more than this. So 75% of all attacks that land are eliminated. 50% damage defense, fire defense rather, is, I believe the soft cap is 45, and for 50s, and at Incarnate it's 50%. As I understand it, this means 50% of the incoming attacks just miss. It might be 45. I think there's something to do with crits as well, but this is a very high number, and it's definitely good enough to be very survivable when I'm fire farming. As far as the other powers go, I'd be happy to answer specific questions about what I took and what I didn't, why I took fighting and leadership, for example. Usually pretty obvious. Most of the usual suspects are here. You'll see the single target bonuses that I put in. Specifically, I make sure that I have the chance for resistance debuff and short circuit, and also it is in melt armor. I use both of these a lot and make sure they're up on the enemy. They really do they do a lot more good than you might think that they do. That definitely causes things to melt quicker. Power Sync is my go-to for, a lot of blasters are like this. It's very common. The Power Sync is my end recovery. This build, when I'm running it, the end runs out very quickly. It can't run continuously. So it's blast, 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 then Power Sync a group, completely refill. With the power transfer in fully slotted, I'm able to completely recharge off of 3 mobs. 2 will give me like 4/5. It's never been a problem. Just make sure you don't miss when you're going to hit the power sync. If you're very low on mobs or they're running in and out, make sure you don't trigger it if you don't have a definite target, because if you miss a cooldown on this, then you're going to have to slow down because your end is gone. Bonfire, get a lot of damage on this. Run the chance for knockdown, knockback. I didn't know this. I guess everyone else probably does. The overwhelming force chance for knockdown also changes your knockback to knockdown, the way the sudden acceleration does. That was very nice. So I've slotted that. Get a lot of damage from Bonfire. Fire Shield, Thunderstrike, and so on. Most of these are also just mules. Like I said, if you have specific questions, I only run one Preventative Medicine. Oh my goodness, this is my favorite proc in the whole world. I say times this has saved my butt. As I'm watching myself melt down, all of a sudden, Preventative Medicine, and quarter of my health reappears in form of absorption. Stamina, again, Power Sync is my stamina, so this is just to recover a little bit of health. And that's about it. So let's see how this actually runs. All right, and here she is. This is Disco Voltage in her... I usually use this for fire farming because it's distinctive. This is Power Suit Biko from Project Echo. This is the power. She's the daughter of Iron Man, and this is the power suit that she made. Of course, it's a parody of a power suit. It's a battle bikini and completely ineffective. But of course, in the movie, it works better than anything else she makes. Normally, I use this Zatomic Halloween thing because it has no flying EBs. When I do this but solo, I generally run not solo. I have a fire spines brute that I bring along, and there's a practical reason for that. You can only have 16 things on you at a time, 16 mobs on you, and having multiple people in your group means that mobs remotely will have more to anchor on. Otherwise, they just come around and they won't ag onto you. They'll mill around. You need to have a lot of people in your group so that they all have something they're trying to get to. So come here, come on over. There you go. Okay. Now, turn on my clickies. I do run Barrier because that's my oh my gosh button, and I run Assault. I forget which one it is. The Vorpal thing. Let me click on it here. I do run Hover for the 2% def, and I run Pyronic, the ranged nuke for Incarnate. And the reason for that is extremely fast cast time, and I do that because the build-up, which has the chance for build-up, the Gaussian thingy, only lasts for 2 seconds. It doesn't last for very long at all, and I want to make sure that I get that bonus when I fire. So what I'll do is Get everyone below me, find a good spot, ag a bunch of people. I'm going to fire off melt armor first to reduce defenses. I might fire off a short circuit, but then I'm going to use the nuke. And I immediately cast, you see, I immediately cast the Pyronic with the fast cast time so that I can get the damage bonus in on that. You'll see while I'm in the middle of these mobs, and mobs, by the way, is a singular mobile beast. It's not a mob of things. You see that while I'm in the middle of them, I'm very survivable. Very survivable, as I showed, I think, at the beginning, or I'll show afterwards some specific mechanics. And then it's just AoEs, AoE them down. Try not to use the single targets. They're kind of a waste of cast time. Just AoEs until you're down to EBs, until you're down to the elite bosses. Those you got a single target down. Generally, with the resistance debuffs and all of the set bonuses and everything, stuff melts down pretty fast. You'll see that I'm hovering just above because, one, I think it looks cool, and two, so that the dynamo is ticking on everyone and I can see what I'm doing. That's the main reason for that. And right below me is of course the Spines Brute that's pulling ag and anything that thinks it wants to leave. And then AoE. You'll see that the end goes down very quickly, and then I use the power sink to fire it back up. Now, I don't want to use the nuke unless I have a build-up, so I'm waiting for them both to be around before I fire them off. Now, these last couple of mobs, I used the melt armor. It was probably a waste, you know, but not being strictly professional. All right, level up. That happens. And now I want to find another mob. So I find over, and I'm looking for a spot not in a mob. I'm not trying to ag one mob. It is mathematically impossible to hurt that Spines tank down there, and that's true for most fire farming tanks. You can't hurt them. They are as literal definition of invulnerable as you can be to this level. So I want to ag as much stuff as possible. I want to get it over, get it anchored on, more than 16. Make sure that they're all close enough so that if they decide not to ag, that they come towards me anyway because I'm inside their sight range. This is not the best group I've seen. I can do quite a bit better if there's one or two other people with me. That's one of the reasons I don't like the solo fire farm. It's actually a bit slower and less effective. Then again, build up, melt armor, nuke, and then it's all the AoEs. And that's pretty much it. That's what I'm doing. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of the specifics. And we're off. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is direct survivability. I'm going to just walk into a single group with my clickies on and show you without the Spines Brute because I realize that could be, you know, kind of grading on a curve. I do run one macro, and I'm going to show you that macro in a second, for my bonfire, which is a POW exec at me so that I don't have to find a spot. Things get busy. So, first thing, here I am. I'm just going to sit here for a little bit. Let everyone attack me. Here's my health. You'll see at first they get fired. Basically, either doesn't hit me or does very little damage. Now, they're going to start hitting me in a second here with some smashing, with some other damage. You know, some long cooldowns that the EBs have. And that's going to hurt me, but it's going to give me plenty of time to react. Alright, so I'm going to just go ahead and nuke them down. I'm going to fire one round of nukes. That's a melt armor, a bonfire, nuke, pyronic, ball of lightning, and then this will kill the millions of lieutenants. They're dead. The bosses, they'll run. They're probably about half to 3/4 health down. And, of course, the EBs. So that's a standard run right there. A couple words on control. Everyone's going to be a little different here. Everyone's going to have their own style. I put my main attacks on 2, 3, 4, and 5. As you can see, that's my shocking. And I always think of them in terms of what's ranged and what's not ranged. But my main stuff I put here. My nukes, I put next to my build-up because I use them occasionally. My Alt F3 I put here is my Thunderous Blast. It's really kind of all over. I really, not too helpful to explain. But there is one thing I do want to mention. First, my Alt 1 is my emergency key. That's my barrier. And second is the bonfire macro. Now, the bonfire macro is a simple macro that normally when you fire off bonfire here, 5, you have to choose a location, right? And this isn't a big deal here, you know, but when you're in combat, I actually am embarrassed to admit this, I sometimes lose track of the mouse. So, so I like to have a macro that just fires it off directly on me. And so the way to do that is /macro, the name you want to call it, I just call it B. And then in quotes, POW exec, not power exec, POW exec location, underscore location, me, and the name of the power, in this case, bonfire. Capitalization is required, capital B for the bonfire. You hit enter and you'll get a B on your as your power. And when you click this, I'm going to put it in my 0 because it's an identical macro. If I hit my 0 key now, watch what happens. She fires a bonfire directly on top of herself, right? Which is extremely handy in combat, especially when things are getting fast and furious. Other than that, it's just a question of rotating, making sure that you have your build-up ready for your nukes and for your powers, managing your end, and enjoying being completely invulnerable and blowing everything up, and nothing can hurt you. So, if you have any questions, comments, please send them to me. This is Disco Voltage signing out.